Sri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Sri Sadguru Paramatmane Namaha. Sarva Maharshibhyo Namaha. The process of dhyana is explained. 24th Shloka. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kamam Tyaktva Sarvana Sheshataha Manasyevendriya Gramam Vinayamya Samantataha. 25th Shloka. Shenairuparmed Buddhya Dhruti Gruhitaya Atma Samstham Manah Krutva Nakinchidapi Chintayet. Substance. Having abandoned all desires born of egocentric will, having restrained the group of senses with mind from all sides, one should attain quietness slowly and slowly by the intellect held firmly, and then fixing the mind in Atma, he should not think of anything else at all. Commentary. In the early part of discourse, the external aspects of meditation like the place, the seat, and the posture have been explained. Now the Lord explains the internal process of Dhyana Yoga. All the desires should be given up completely. What is the source of these desires? They are born of the egocentric will, Sankalpa. So, desires are described as born from Sankalpa. Sankalpa Prabhavaha. When there is no Sankalpa, thought, there is no desire. By discrimination and dispassion, it is possible to root out Sankalpa. All desires without reservation should be given up completely. We have to note that whenever the Lord speaks of desires, He invariably refers to all of them, because He knows that one desire leads to another, and that to a third, and they would extend to infinity if they are allowed to breed. So, the instruction is that all desires should be abandoned completely. When there are no desires, the mind is calm and collected, and it can be made to rest in the self. So, for Dhyana Yoga, abandoning all desires is essential. The whole group of senses should be restrained from all sides. Even here, the Lord insists on total restraint of all the senses, not partial control of all the senses or complete control of some of the senses. The words Indriya Gramam and Samantataha show that in Dhyana Yoga, total control of every one of the senses is essential. The mind is the instrument of control. The senses are like wild horses, and the mind is the strong rein to check their turbulent behavior. If the mind is pure and godly, what can the senses do? They are automatically brought under control. If the mind is impure on account of past samskaras, then they draw the mind away from the spiritual path. So it is said, be controlled by purity of mind acquired through discrimination and dispassion. Then the aspirant should attain quietude by the intellect held firmly. This stillness and quietude is the effect of shutting out the external world by perfect sense control. Intellect is higher than the mind, manastu parabuddhihi, but the intellect will be powerless to assert itself if it does not function with firmness, courage, and determination. The rebellious mind will overpower the intellect and make it dance to its tune. If the mind is like a tiger, the intellect should be like a lion. Then only the mind yields to the unmovable, determining will of the intellect and turns inside to see the self. The process of self-control and mind control should be carried on slowly and steadily. Shanaihi. Fourth should be avoided. The mind should be turned inwards by long, slow, steady practice. It should be persuaded and induced to get back to its source. from the objective world where it has wandered about for many, many lives without check or control or guidance. On account of past momentum, the mind runs out in spite of one's best effort to stop it. One may hold it by violence, but it cannot be for long. Again, when the control is relaxed, it runs in its old grooves. By violent repression, the inner personality may be damaged. So, persuasion is the only way. Let the mind be told that what it is running after is, after all, a mirage, that if it turns inwards, it would find a nobler and higher treasure, and that its external attachments have brought only pain and suffering. Thus, thinking and discriminating and reasoning, the mind will gradually change its former attitude. As it finds rest and peace within, it would be induced to rest in the self longer and longer. The the practice should be carried on day after day, and then only the mind comes to rest. Slow and steady wins the race. The teaching of the Gita contains the essence of all Shastras and the aim of all kinds of sadhana. The mind should be fixed in Atma and nothing else should be thought of. As the mind contemplates Atma, it is more and more absorbed in it till finally it is dissolved like a bit of salt in the sea. Dhyana, in its highest state, is oneness with the object of meditation. So, there is nothing other than Atma in that state. If the mind deviates from its aim even for a second by the intrusion of same thought, dhyana is interrupted. That is why the Lord declares that nothing other than Atma should be allowed to crop up in the mind during meditation. The exhortation of the Gita should be remembered and thought of by all the seekers. Establish the mind in Atma and do not think of anything else. May this be practically realized by all earnest seekers on the spiritual path. Question: what are the conditions to be adapted by one practicing Dhyana Yoga? Answer: he should give up all desires completely. He should restrain the senses and the mind from all sides. He should turn the mind inwards by the control of the determined intellect and fix it in the self. He should not think of anything other than Atma. Question: from whence do desires arise? Answer: desires arise from the egocentric will. Question: what is the type of intellect needed for controlling the mind? Answer: the intellect should be firm and undespondent. Despondent. Question: how should dhyana be performed? Answer: dhyana on the self should be done slowly and slowly. The distractions of the mind should be controlled by persistent effort. 26th Shloka. यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यैत तदात्मन्येव वशं नयेत्. Substance. Towards whatsoever sense objects the moving and unsteady mind wanders away from them all, it should be withdrawn and fixed in Atma. Commentary. In the previous verse, it is said that having fixed the mind in Atma, nothing else should be thought of. If the mind wanders away from the target of meditation, what should be done? This question is answered here. The Gita is a practical science, and so every kind of difficulty which the seeker has to face is stated and explained, and the method pointed out to overcome it. The mind is restless and unsteady. In the beginning, it is never fixed on the object of meditation. It runs away and begins to think of 1,000 things of worldly life. The seeker may become despondent that it would be never able to acquire steadiness in meditation, but there is no cause for despondency. The Lord here advises the aspirant to bring back the mind again and again and fix it in Atma. This practice should go on as long as the mind deviates from Atma. But as long as the mind is tempted by objects of enjoyment, it would naturally run after them. So, one should enlighten the mind to understand the painful nature of worldly enjoyments. Dukkha doshanudarshanam. When the mind thus understands their worthlessness and painful character, it does not run after them. As the mind rests in the self, it experiences the higher bliss of peace. Then it would not wander away from the Lakshya, Atma. Therefore, the aspirant has to observe the activities of the mind carefully. The ignorant man identifies himself with the mind, and so he is not able to understand how the mind is misleading him in 100 ways. The seeker gains the knowledge that the mind is betraying him, and so he looks upon its vagaries with care and caution. By observing and examining the mind, he neutralizes its evil force. Desire is a form of the mind. When desires arise, they should be relentlessly scrutinized and rejected. Then Atma alone shines and real peace floods the heart. So the Lord here states that the mind should be trained to rest in Atma by ceaseless practice. Question: what is the nature of the mind? Answer: it is restless and unsteady. Question: when the mind wanders away in meditation, what should be done? Answer: it should be brought back again and again and fixed in Atma.